December 2014. Beverly Hills. At the top of North Hillcrest Road sits a glass palace that seems to defy gravity. 23,000 square feet, balanced on a promontory in Trousdale Estates. Floor-to-ceiling windows curve for 54 feet without interruption. Through the glass, downtown Los Angeles, the Pacific Ocean, everything in between. The numbers arrive like hammer blows. $70 million, the highest price ever paid for a Beverly Hills home. 8 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms, a $200,000 wall of candy dispensers. Place settings by Roberto Cavalli at $3,700 each. A 54-foot retractable glass wall. The house came fully furnished, fully stocked, fully ready. The buyer outbid Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Beautiful, yes. But this house was never built as a home. It was built as a product, a spec mansion designed to sell a lifestyle. The man who bought it was looking for something else entirely. 9 months after moving in, the owner would sit in Ibiza surrounded by celebrities and friends, able to do whatever he wanted and post to the world a message that would make headlines. He had never felt more isolated. The mansion had everything. It couldn't provide what he needed. The glass palace became something its builder never intended. Not a celebration, a monument to what money cannot buy. Can wealth solve the problem it creates? And what happens when you get everything you thought you wanted, only to discover the price was yourself? If you're drawn to stories of sudden wealth, isolation, and the emptiness behind golden gates, consider subscribing. Your support makes these investigations possible. Let's begin. June 1st, 1979. Stockholm, Sweden. A boy is born who will build worlds from code. The mansion would come later. First there was a Commodore 128 and a child who couldn't stop programming. Markus Persson was born in Stockholm to a Finnish mother, Ritva, and Swedish father, Birger. For his first 7 years, the family lived in Edsbyn, a small town 3 hours north of Stockholm, surrounded by forests. His parents had fled the capital's drug scene years earlier, found religion, spent one summer living in a bus. Edsbyn offered distance from temptation. The forests offered silence. Markus spent hours walking those forests, absorbing landscapes, building with Lego blocks when he came home, constructing elaborate structures that filled entire rooms. The boy was obsessed with making things, with systems that fit together. Then his father brought home a Commodore 128. Markus was 7 years old. The computer arrived and everything changed. Within a year, he had written his first program, a text-based adventure game. He didn't know how to code a save feature. Every time he wanted to play, he retyped the entire program from memory. His younger sister would read lines of code from computing magazines. He would type them in, line by line, watching to see what they did. He began faking stomach aches to stay home from school. His mother caught on but let him. She pushed him to take an online programming course. The boy who struggled to make friends found something better than friends. He found control. By age 12, his parents divorced. The family moved back to Stockholm. Markus withdrew further. One friend, the computer. High school came and went. He never finished. At 18, he found work as a web developer. The pattern was established early. Code made sense. People did not. Between 2004 and 2009, Persson worked for King.com, the company that would later make Candy Crush. He built browser games in Flash. The work paid bills, rent in Stockholm, food, the necessities. But something was missing. The games he built for King were products designed to extract money through repetitive play. They weren't his. In his spare time, he began experimenting. Forums for independent developers became his community. TigSource, a gathering place for programmers who wanted to make something that mattered. He used a handle there, not Markus. Notch. By 2009, Persson was 30 years old, still building games for someone else, still living in Sweden, still searching for the thing that would make the code feel like more than work. In his spare time, late at night after his day job, he started typing. A different kind of game. Something about blocks and building and worlds that generated themselves. He called it Cave Game. In a few months, he would have another name for it. The name would change everything. May 2009. Persson posted a video to the TigSource forums. The game had no official name yet. Cave Game. A world made of blocks, procedurally generated terrain, simple mechanics, dig, place, build. The inspiration came from games he admired. Dwarf Fortress, with its emergent complexity. Dungeon Keeper, where players constructed underground lairs. Infiniminer, a multiplayer game built entirely from cubes. The first alpha release went live on May 17, 2009. Persson priced it at roughly $6. The game was unfinished, barely functional. Players could build, they could mine. That was it. No enemies, no survival mechanics, no clear objective. Just an infinite world and the freedom to shape it. Word spread through forums. YouTube videos began appearing, players documenting what they built. Castles, replicas of real buildings, pixel art rendered in 3 dimensions. The game gave people tools and stepped back. They made the rest. By June 2010, Persson was selling 400 copies per day. The revenue wasn't enormous by industry standards, but it was enough. He and his friend Jakob Porser quit their jobs and founded a company, Mojang, the Swedish word for gadget. They rented office space in Stockholm, hired a small team. Persson handed off some development duties but remained the face of the game. Online, he was Notch. Black fedora, cantankerous opinions, direct engagement with the community. When players had questions, Notch answered on Twitter. When they found bugs, Notch fixed them and pushed updates. The persona became inseparable from the product. Minecraft was Notch's game. Notch was Minecraft. The full release came November 18, 2011. By then, the game had sold millions of copies in alpha and beta. The community had exploded. Mods, servers, YouTube channels dedicated entirely to Minecraft content. Children who had never heard of Dwarf Fortress or Infiniminer were building elaborate machines using redstone circuits. The game had escaped Persson's control in the best possible way. Then forces outside the game began exerting pressure. December 2011. Persson's father died by suicide. The loss arrived without warning. Persson attempted to channel grief into work, started a new project called 0x10C. He abandoned it months later. The creative well had run dry. The company kept growing. Mojang expanded to consoles, tablets, phones. Minecraft became ubiquitous. 60 million copies sold by 2014. Revenue approached $230 million. The small Swedish studio with 40 employees was now a global phenomenon. Persson stepped back from lead development in 2011, handed the role to Jens Bergensten. But he remained the owner, the symbol, the face everyone associated with the blocks. The pressure mounted. Community expectations, business decisions, constant scrutiny. Every update criticized, every choice debated publicly. Former fans turned hostile when changes didn't match their vision. Persson felt the weight of something he no longer controlled but couldn't escape. June 2014, he posted a message on Twitter. Short, direct. Anyone want to buy my share of Mojang so I can move on with my life? 3 months later, someone did. September 15, 2014, Microsoft announced the acquisition of Mojang AB for $2.5 billion in cash. Markus Persson walked away with approximately $1.6 billion after taxes. He was 35 years old. The deal closed with unusual speed for a transaction of that size. Microsoft wanted Minecraft, the intellectual property, the brand, the massive player base that spanned demographics and platforms. Persson wanted out. The negotiation found its middle ground. The company that built Windows was buying a game made of blocks by a Swedish programmer who never finished high school. Persson announced his departure immediately. No transition period, no advisory role, no staying on to guide the game's future development. He published a statement on his personal blog explaining the decision. The words were careful but clear. He didn't want to be a symbol. He didn't want responsibility for something he no longer understood. He was a programmer, not a CEO, not an entrepreneur, not the custodian of a cultural phenomenon. The community response split. Some understood. Burnout was real. The pressure had been visible. Others felt betrayed. The creator abandoning his creation, selling out to a corporate giant, the same Microsoft that gamers had spent years criticizing. Persson's Twitter mentions filled with accusations, disappointment, anger. Former Mojang employees watched the news. From their Stockholm office, many had expected the sale eventually, but not the immediate exit. Persson had negotiated hard to ensure their financial security in the deal, made certain they were taken care of. The effort didn't translate to gratitude. Later, Persson would tweet about this. "The biggest effort went into protecting the employees," he wrote. "They all hate me now." The money arrived in tranches. Wire transfers converting equity into liquid wealth. $1.6 billion purchased. Freedom from obligation. No more company to run. No more community to manage. No more expectation to be Notch, the creator, the personality. Just Markus, with more money than he could conceptually spend. The sudden wealth created immediate disorientation. No schedule to keep. No projects demanding attention. Friends and family still in Sweden, still working normal jobs, still living lives structured by necessity. Persson had been severed from all structure. The freedom people fantasize about. The reality proved different. Microsoft began the process of integration. Minecraft would continue, expand, reach new platforms. The game's momentum wouldn't slow, but the company quietly started removing references to its creator. Splash screens that mentioned Notch, credits that emphasized his role. Slowly, systematically, the name detached from the product. The separation Persson wanted, Microsoft provided. Both parties moving on. Persson began spending. Houses first. Multiple properties across countries. Then cars, luxury vehicles that sat in garages. The purchases came easily. Sign papers, wire funds, own things. But ownership required nothing. No effort, no achievement, no sense of building towards something. Just acquisition. 2 months after the sale, a mansion in Beverly Hills appeared on the market, listed for $85 million by a developer who had built it on speculation. The house had attracted attention from high-profile buyers. Jay-Z and Beyoncé toured it multiple times, made an offer. The developer was waiting to see if someone would go higher. That someone was about to arrive. Bruce Makowski made his first fortune selling leather handbags on QVC. He and his wife, Kathy Van Zeeland, built 3 fashion labels over 30 years. Kathy Van Zeeland Handbags, B. Makowski, Tignanello. The brand sold through over 1,300 department stores and cable television shopping networks. In 2008, they sold the business to a Hong Kong conglomerate for $330 million. Makowski was in his 50s. He had spent decades in fashion and retail, understanding what luxury consumers wanted, how to market aspiration through accessible price points. But selling handbags through QVC wasn't his final act. He moved to Los Angeles with capital and a theory about the ultra-wealthy. The theory went like this. Billionaires spent $200 million, sometimes $300 million on mega yachts they used 8 weeks per year. They purchased private jets for similar amounts, but they lived in houses worth $20 or $30 million. The disparity didn't make sense. Not to Makowski. If someone would spend a fortune on a yacht, why not on the place they actually lived? The gap in the market was turnkey luxury. Not just expensive houses, but complete environments. Everything included. Furniture, art, wine, cars on display. Move-in ready for people who had infinite money but limited time. Makowski founded BAM Luxury Development to test the theory. August 2013, he purchased a plot of land in Trousdale Estates, an exclusive enclave in Beverly Hills where properties commanded premium prices. The lot sat at the top of North Hillcrest Road. Views in nearly every direction. Downtown Los Angeles, the Pacific Ocean, the sprawl of wealth between them. He paid $12.65 million for the land. Construction began late 2013. Makowski assembled a team of 300 workers and designers. The house would be a spec property, built without a buyer, funded entirely by Makowski's capital. The risk was substantial. If the house didn't sell, he would own a very expensive monument to a failed theory. The design drew inspiration from mega yachts. Sleek lines, glass, open spaces that blurred interior and exterior, modern materials, state-of-the-art systems. But the scale was residential, not nautical. 23,000 square feet across multiple levels. 8 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms. Spaces designed for entertaining, for display, for the performance of wealth. Every detail was curated personally by Makowski or his team. Furniture commissioned from Bentley Motors. A sofa and chair set that would retail for $500,000. Dining table carved from a single piece of onyx, 18 feet long, seating for 24. Place settings by Roberto Cavalli at $3,700 each. The house came with the dishes. The car gallery featured hydraulic floors that rotated vehicles for optimal viewing angles and lowered them into the downstairs lounge. 15 bathrooms, each equipped with toilets that cost $500–600. A wine cellar with capacity for 2,500 bottles, pre-stocked with Dom Pérignon and other champagnes. The candy room featured a wall of dispensers filled with $200,000 worth of sweets. Art installations throughout. Over $1 million in curated pieces included with the purchase. A gold toothbrush made specifically for the house. Every element designed to communicate one message. This is what $85 million buys. Not just a house, a complete lifestyle ready to inhabit. Construction finished in September 2014. Makowski listed the property in October for $85 million. The marketing emphasized the turnkey nature, the ultimate bachelor pad, the statement purchase. High-profile buyers toured the space. Jay-Z and Beyoncé came twice. Steve Wynn reportedly viewed it. The house generated exactly the attention Makowski wanted. In December 2014, a Swedish programmer with $1.6 billion and no clear purpose walked through the 54-foot glass doors. The asking price was $85 million. He offered $70 million. Makowski accepted immediately. The sale set a record. The highest price ever paid for a Beverly Hills home. The handbag magnate's theory was validated. The programmer had found a place to put his money. The question was what he would do with it. Stand at the entrance. Floor-to-ceiling glass curves across 54 feet. Touch a button and the entire wall retracts into the floor. Indoors becomes outdoors. The infinity pool reflects the Los Angeles basin. The view stretches from downtown to Malibu. The house spreads across 23,000 square feet. 8 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom and several with private balconies. 15 bathrooms total, equipped with toilets that cost more than most people's monthly rent. The master suite occupies an entire wing. Panoramic windows on 3 sides. A view that encompasses 280 degrees of Southern California. Down the hallway, the car gallery. Space for 16 vehicles. Hydraulic floors rotate the cars to perfect viewing angles. Press another button and the floors descend, lowering the vehicles into the downstairs lounge where they become living room art. When Persson moved in, a white Ferrari 458 Italia and a Rolls-Royce were already on display. Bumblebee Transformer statues flank the entrance. Adjacent to the home gym sits the candy room. A wall of commercial dispensers, the kind found in movie theaters, filled with every variety of candy imaginable. Skittles, M&Ms, gummy bears, chocolate-covered almonds. The dispensers were stocked with $200,000 worth of product. Next to the machines, mirrors and weight equipment, sugar and fitness side by side. The wine cellar could hold 2,500 bottles. Makowski had stocked it with hundreds of bottles of Dom Pérignon, vintage champagnes, wine selected by consultants. Every bottle included in the $70 million purchase price. The home theater seated 18 in tiered rows. A screening room with commercial-grade projection and sound. The dining room centered on an 18-foot table carved from a single slab of onyx. Seating for 24 each. Place setting designed by Roberto Cavalli, featuring 24-karat gold details and Lalique crystal. $3,700 per setting. The table came set, ready for a dinner party that could seat nearly 24 guests. The living room furniture was custom worked by Bentley Motors. The same leather and wood used in their luxury cars applied to a sofa and chair set valued at $500,000. Art hung on every wall. Sculptures positioned throughout the space. Over $1 million in curated installations, all included. A gold toothbrush sat in the master bathroom, made specifically for this house. Everything was ready. The wine, the candy, the cars, the art, the furniture, the place settings. Persson could walk in, sit down, and begin living the life the house promised. No furniture to buy, no art to select, no wine to stock. Turnkey billionaire living. The ultimate bachelor pad. The house had been designed for entertaining. For parties that would spill from the living room onto the terraces, guests moving between the candy room and the wine cellar, admirers gathering around the car gallery. A stage set for the performance of wealth. Makowski had built it as product. Persson bought it as solution. In December 2014, he moved in. The house was ready for parties. The first one was scheduled for January 2015. Persson flew from Sweden to Los Angeles to throw a housewarming party. The guest list mixed gaming industry figures with celebrities and DJs. Professional event staff handled logistics, catering, sound systems. The house that had been built for entertaining would finally fulfill its purpose. Tim Schafer arrived. The Double Fine founder, creator of games like Grim Fandango and Psychonauts. Vince Zampella, co-founder of Respawn Entertainment, the studio behind Titanfall. Rob Pardo, former chief creative officer at Blizzard, the man who helped shape World of Warcraft. John and Brenda Romero, legends in game development. These were Persson's peers, the people who understood what he had. Built with Minecraft, what the sale meant. Celebrities came too. Selena Gomez, DJ Zed, Dylan Francis, Martin Garrix. Electronic music pulsed through the space. The 54-foot glass wall retracted. Guests moved between the house and the pool terrace. The candy room saw constant traffic. The wine cellar's Dom Pérignon flowed freely. Photographer Rooks documented the event. Images captured crowds in the living room. People gathered around the car gallery where the white Ferrari and Rolls-Royce rotated on hydraulic floors. The Bumblebee Transformer statues provided backdrop for photos. Guests posed, drinks in hand, surrounded by $70 million worth of curated luxury. The gaming community watched online. One of their own had made it. Not just made it, transcended. Persson wasn't working for a studio anymore, wasn't grinding on someone else's project. He was Notch, the billionaire, the creator who sold his game for billions and bought a palace. The American dream achieved by a Swedish programmer. The party was everything the house promised. Spectacle, celebration, proof of arrival. But it was the first of many. Through spring and into summer 2015, the parties continued. More DJs, more celebrities, more nights where the glass palace filled with people and music and movement. The pattern established itself quickly. Persson as host, the mansion as venue. Each party required staff. Event planners, caterers, bartenders, sound engineers. The house that came fully furnished needed constant maintenance between events. Restocking the candy dispensers, replenishing the wine cellar, cleaning the spaces, rotating the cars in the gallery to maintain visual interest. The performance of wealth required a supporting cast, though they remained largely invisible to the guests. The parties made headlines. Photos circulated. Stories appeared in tech blogs and entertainment sites. The Minecraft creator's lavish lifestyle, the $70 million bachelor pad in action. From the outside, it looked exactly like what the house was designed to project. Success, freedom, the reward for creating something millions loved. But by August, Persson was in Ibiza. Another party, more friends, more celebrities, more freedom to do anything. The pattern had repeated enough times that something had become visible, not to the guests, to Persson himself. On August 29, 2015, he opened Twitter and began typing. August 29, 2015, Ibiza. Persson was surrounded by friends at a party. He had access to everything. Celebrities, music, ocean views, unlimited resources. He opened Twitter and began posting messages that would generate headlines worldwide. The problem with getting everything, he wrote, is you run out of reasons to keep trying. Human interaction becomes impossible due to imbalance. The message went public. Thousands saw it within minutes. Another tweet followed. Hanging out in Ibiza with friends and partying with famous people, able to do whatever he wanted. He had never felt more isolated. The contradiction hung there, surrounded by people, completely alone. The wealth that was supposed to provide freedom had created a different kind of prison. Every interaction filtered through the imbalance he described. Was someone interested in him or his money? Were friendships real or transactional? The questions had no clear answers. He kept typing. In Sweden, he would sit around waiting for friends with jobs and families to have time to do things. Watching his reflection in the monitor. His friends had structure, purpose, obligations that organized their days. Persson had none of those, just time. Infinite time with nothing that needed doing. The employees at Mojang hated him now, he wrote. When the company sold, the biggest effort went into making sure they were taken care of financially. The result was resentment, not gratitude. They saw the sale as abandonment. His attempts to protect them felt like being bought off. He had found someone he cared about. She was afraid of his lifestyle. Went with a normal person instead. The wealth made relationships impossible. Not just difficult, impossible. The imbalance was too great. He could do what Elon Musk did, he wrote. Try to save the world, but that would expose him to the same people who made him sell Minecraft in the first place. The pressure, the expectations, the public demands. He had escaped that. Going back would recreate the problem he paid billions to leave behind. The tweets cascaded, each one a small revelation of the hollow center behind the golden facade. The mansion, the parties, the cars, the celebrity friends, none of it addressed the fundamental issue. He had everything. Everything meant nothing. Media outlets picked up the story immediately. Billionaire Minecraft creator reveals crushing loneliness, the sad reality behind sudden wealth. Tech founder discovers money can't buy happiness. The headlines wrote themselves. Some responses were sympathetic, others mocking. Rich person, complaining about being rich. The criticism came fast. 2 days later, August 31st, Persson posted clarifications. Articles were appearing about his depression because he had a bad day and vented. He was sitting there having a nice day. The backpedaling was partial, defensive. He apologized to people with real problems. The whining of a newly wealthy programmer getting more attention than those with legitimate struggles. But the damage was done. Not to his reputation, to the illusion. The tweets had exposed what the parties couldn't hide. The mansion had everything. State-of-the-art systems, curated art, wine worth thousands per bottle, a candy room, a car gallery. Everything except the thing he actually needed. Purpose, connection. A reason to get up in the morning that wasn't about spending money or hosting parties or maintaining a lifestyle that felt increasingly hollow. The sale had given him freedom from Minecraft. It hadn't given him freedom toward anything else. The pattern researchers had documented appeared in his life exactly as predicted. Sudden wealth syndrome, lottery winners, tech founders who cashed out, inheritors of massive fortunes. The common thread was disorientation, structure removed, purpose eliminated, relationships complicated by imbalance. The very things people fantasized wealth would provide. The opposite arrived. Person's friends with jobs went to work each day. They had problems to solve, meetings to attend, projects that mattered. Their time had value because it was limited. Person's time had no limit and therefore no structure. He could do anything, which meant nothing he did felt like it mattered. The tweets went viral. The mansion in Beverly Hills stood as symbol. The palace where the lonely billionaire hosted parties to fill the void. The parties hadn't worked. The isolation remained. Worse than remained. It had intensified. The parties at 1181 North Hillcrest continued. Fall 2015, winter 2016 into 2017. The pattern remained visible. Public spectacle followed by private silence. The mansion functioned as venue more than home. Persson split his time between Sweden, Los Angeles, Ibiza. Wealthy nomad with houses in multiple countries but roots in none. His social media activity intensified. The tweets became more frequent, more controversial. Political statements, comments on gender and identity, topics that generated backlash. The gaming community that had celebrated his success began distancing itself. Each controversial post created more separation. Microsoft watched. The company that purchased Minecraft for $2.5 billion found itself associated with a creator whose public statements clashed with corporate values. A decision emerged slowly, implemented quietly. References to Notch began disappearing from the game. Splash screens that mentioned his name. In-game messages crediting the creator. One by one, they were removed. The process took years. By 2019, nearly all mentions were gone. The credits remained. A legal requirement. Everything else was scrubbed. The game Persson created no longer acknowledged him beyond the mandatory attribution. Microsoft made the separation official without announcement, without fanfare, just systematic removal. May 2019, Minecraft's 10th anniversary. Events planned, celebrations organized, community gatherings scheduled. Persson was not invited. The creator excluded from his creation's milestone. The exile was complete. Microsoft distanced itself. The gaming community had already moved on. The game belonged to its players now, to Microsoft, to the culture it had become part of, not to the man who wrote the first lines of code. Persson's response played out online. More controversial statements, more defiance. The pattern locked in. Isolation bred resentment. Resentment generated more statements. More statements deepened the isolation. The cycle self-perpetuating. He attempted new projects. Founded a game studio in 2015 called Rubber Brain. Nothing gained traction. No game captured the lightning that Minecraft had. He relaunched the studio in 2024 as BitShift Entertainment, still searching for the thing that would recreate the meaning Minecraft had provided. The search produced no results. The mansion remained. Parties became less frequent after 2017. No more celebrity-filled housewarmings documented by professional photographers. The lifestyle that had been performed publicly retreated into privacy. The candy room, the wine cellar, the car gallery, all maintained, all functional, all increasingly unused. The fundamental problem had no solution. Persson was defined by Minecraft. Minecraft now belonged to others. His identity was tied to something he no longer controlled, no longer shaped, no longer belonged to. The wealth that came from selling it provided everything except a path forward. No new project could match what he had already built. Nothing he tried generated the same sense of purpose. By 2019, the story had crystallized. Creator builds something massive, sells it for billions, loses himself in the process. The mansion on North Hillcrest stood as monument to the transaction. Beautiful property, empty center. The palace where parties once filled rooms with celebrities, now mostly silent. Just another expensive house on a hillside, waiting. In 2019, Microsoft removed the final references to Notch from Minecraft's splash screens. The credits remained. Everything else was gone. The game that defined him no longer claimed him. The separation was mutual and complete. The corporate decision made business sense. Persson's controversial statements created liability. Easier to distance the product from its creator than defend associations that generated negative press. The game had transcended its origin story. Millions played who never knew or cared who built it. The blocks were the brand. The creator was expendable. The 10th anniversary celebration happened without him. No invitation, no acknowledgement. Events streamed online. Communities gathered to celebrate a decade of building and creating. Persson watched from outside, if he watched at all. The thing he made had become something else entirely. It belonged to Microsoft legally. It belonged to the players culturally. He was simply the person who happened to write it first. The gaming community reactions split along predictable lines. Some defended him. Free speech, right to opinions, separation of art from artist. Others agreed with Microsoft. The statements were indefensible, the distance appropriate. The arguments played out on forums and social media. Persson remained at the center of debates about him while being excluded from the actual game. His attempts to start new projects continued producing nothing that mattered. Rubber Brain, founded in 2015, generated no hits. Relaunched as BitShift Entertainment in 2024, the pattern didn't change. Ideas started. Development began. Nothing reached the cultural penetration Minecraft had achieved. The comparison was inevitable and unfair. Lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, especially when the first strike redefined an entire medium. The wealth continued generating more wealth. Investments, passive income, money making money without effort or attention. His net worth grew even as his relevance diminished. The mansion on North Hillcrest appreciated in value. Real estate in Beverly Hills always did. The $70 million purchase was now worth more on paper. The number went up. The meaning stayed flat. Social media became his primary outlet. Statements, arguments, reactions to current events. The controversy engine that had alienated the gaming community ran without pause. Each post generated responses, outrage, defense, criticism. The attention was something. Not purpose, not connection, but something that filled the space where those things should have been. The fundamental irony had become clear. Persson built a game that gave players infinite freedom to create whatever they imagined. Simple tools, no prescribed goals, just a world and the ability to shape it. Millions found meaning in that freedom, built communities, created art, collaborated on projects that existed only because the game made them possible. Then he took his billions and bought a perfect physical space, everything provided, nothing to build toward. The game succeeded because it offered constraints that made creativity possible. The mansion failed because it removed all constraints. No problems to solve, no challenges that mattered, no reason to keep trying. The mansion on North Hillcrest remains. Persson still owns it, still maintains it, still returns to it. But the palace built for celebration houses a different story now. Not success, not arrival. Just the evidence that having everything means something different than anyone imagines before they get there. The mansion has everything. 8 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms, 23,000 square feet of curated luxury. Everything included, everything maintained, everything except the thing its owner needed. What money bought was clear. Freedom from work, freedom from constraint, freedom from scarcity. No need to check prices, consider budgets, weigh trade-offs. The $70 million purchased elimination of mundane concerns. Bills paid automatically. Staff handled maintenance. Problems solved by throwing money at them until they disappeared. What it couldn't buy revealed itself slowly. Purpose. The reason to get up in the morning that isn't about spending money or filling time. Persson had built Minecraft when he was working a day job for King.com, coding in his spare time because the act of creation mattered. The game emerged from necessity, from the drive to make something that didn't exist. Selling it removed that engine. Nothing replaced it. Connection became impossible for different reasons. The imbalance he described in his tweets wasn't abstract. Friends with jobs and families operated on schedules dictated by obligation. They couldn't drop everything to hang out. Their time had value because it was limited. Persson's unlimited time created mismatch. He could do anything, go anywhere, whenever he wanted. His friends couldn't. The gap wasn't bridgeable. Dating failed for similar reasons. Wealth became the first thing people saw. Not personality, not shared interests, not compatibility. Just the money. Every interaction filtered through suspicion. Was someone interested in him or what he could provide? The question had no good answer. Trust requires some kind of equality. Massive wealth destroys that foundation. The former Mojang employees felt bought off, not protected. Persson's effort to ensure their financial security in the sale translated to resentment. They saw abandonment, not generosity. The creator who cashed out for billions while they stayed at the company under new management. The money changed the relationship, made it transactional when it had been collaborative. Research on sudden wealth syndrome documented these patterns across lottery winners, tech founders, inheritors of massive fortunes. The common thread was loss of structure. Humans need purpose, community, challenges that matter. Wealth removes these by default. No need to work means no daily structure. No shared struggle means isolation from peers. No constraints means no framework for meaning. Persson experienced the paradox directly. Minecraft worked as a game because it provided clear goals, fair rules, achievement systems. Players felt accomplishment because they built things with their own effort. The game was infinite but constrained. The constraints made creativity possible. His real life after the sale had no constraints. Infinite resources, infinite options, no clear goals beyond spending money. The freedom that seemed like paradise in fantasy became prison in reality. Nothing he did felt like it mattered because nothing had to be done. The necessity that drives purpose had been eliminated. The mansion stood as monument to this disconnect. Bruce Makowski built it as the perfect bachelor pad. Ultimate turnkey luxury. Everything a billionaire could want. But Makowski designed a product, not a solution. The house delivered on its promises. Spectacular views, state-of-the-art systems, curated luxury. It couldn't deliver meaning because meaning doesn't come from acquisition. It comes from creation, from struggle, from building towards something that matters. Persson built infinite digital worlds where players found purpose, then bought a physical world that provided none. The irony was complete. The game succeeded by giving people tools and letting them create meaning. The mansion failed by providing everything and leaving nothing to build toward. North Hillcrest Road winds up through Trousdale Estates to some of the most expensive homes in America. At 11.1, behind the glass and steel, the candy dispensers stay stocked. The cars rotate in their gallery. The wine cellar remains full. The house stays ready. Ready for what exactly remains the question. The mansion on North Hillcrest still overlooks Los Angeles. The glass still curves. The view still stretches to the ocean. The house that was supposed to be the ultimate bachelor pad stands as something else now. Minecraft continues. Over 300 million copies sold. Still the best-selling video game in history. Children play it who weren't born when Persson sold the company. The game evolved beyond its creator, adding features and platforms he never imagined. It belongs to its community now, to the millions who build and create within its blocky worlds. The legacy is secure, growing, permanent. The mansion's legacy tells a different story, not about building or creating, about the hollow center of sudden wealth, the cautionary tale that plays out whenever someone gets everything they thought they wanted and discovers it wasn't what they needed. The parallel runs clear. Minecraft gave players infinite building possibilities within a structured framework. Mine resources, craft tools, build structures, survive the night. The constraints made creativity meaningful. Players found purpose in the challenge. Communities formed around shared projects. Achievement came from effort. Persson bought a mansion that removed all constraints. Everything provided. Nothing requiring effort. No goals to achieve because there were no challenges to overcome. The game succeeded by offering problems to solve. The house failed by eliminating them. Purpose cannot exist without obstacles. Meaning requires something to build toward. The creator paradox stands complete. He built something that connected millions through the act of creation, then purchased something that isolated him through the elimination of necessity. The game worked because it gave people reasons to try. The mansion didn't because it gave none. 10 years after the purchase, the house remains his property. No reported sale. No public tours. No return to the celebrity-filled parties that once made headlines. Just a very expensive structure on a hillside, maintained and ready, but increasingly irrelevant to the larger story. That larger story repeats across tech exits and sudden windfalls. Some founders adapt, find new purpose, reinvest their meaning in different projects. Others drift, caught between the world they left and the world they entered. So the amount varies. The pattern holds. Wealth solves material problems. It creates existential ones. Persson's August 2015 tweets remain the most honest documentation of this dynamic. The problem with getting everything is you run out of reasons to keep trying. Human interaction becomes impossible due to imbalance. The words captured what the mansion demonstrated. Having everything means something fundamentally different than anyone imagines before they arrive there. Minecraft endures. Millions still building, still creating, still finding meaning. In the freedom to shape digital worlds. The mansion endures too, but differently. Monument to a transaction. Evidence of what money can and cannot purchase. Both structures outlasting the moment of their creation, but carrying opposite meanings. Markus Persson built a game where anything was possible. Then he bought a house where everything was provided. One offered infinite potential constrained by simple rules. The other offered luxury constrained by nothing. Millions still play Minecraft, still discovering what they can create. The mansion on Hillcrest waits, perfect and empty. Both are monuments, one to possibility, one to what happens when you run out of things to build toward. If you found this story thought-provoking, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think sudden wealth is a blessing or a curse, or does it just amplify who you already are? And if you want more stories about wealth, obsession, and the hidden costs of getting everything you want, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.